Okay, let's dig into a section of text that has offered hope across millennia. We're spending this deep dive in Jeremiah chapter 31, unpacking promises of restoration, a profound future transformation, and, what it means for people grappling with loss.
Absolutely. And the text jumps right in, doesn't it, with this powerful declaration about the core relationship.
Yeah, verse 1. At that time, declares the Lord, I will be the God of all the clans of Israel, and they will be my people. It feels like setting the absolute foundation, wouldn't you say?
That's right. It immediately reestablishes that fundamental identity: God belongs to Israel, Israel belongs to God, straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, it doesn't ignore the pain of the present. It immediately pivots, talking about the people who survived the sword, saying they will find favor in the desert.
Right, and finding rest.
And finding rest, exactly. It acknowledges the harsh reality, the exile, the suffering, but it points beyond it, towards peace and divine favor.
And the reason given for why all this is happening. It's incredibly deep, isn't it? Verse 3. The Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with loving kindness.
That sounds like the bedrock.
It really does. The driving force behind this whole message of hope.
It is. And notice, this love isn't presented as like a reward for good behavior. It's described as eternal, unchanging, part of God's character. It's this inherent divine affection that compels God to draw them back, to restore them. It's really the engine behind the whole promise.
So what does this promised restoration actually look like? I mean, in tangible terms. The text paints a pretty vivid picture, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's about returning to normal life, but amplified with joy, celebration.
Yeah. I will build you up again, and you will be rebuilt, O Virgin Israel. Again, you will take up your tambourines and go out to dance with the joyful.
That's definitely not just survival.
No, it's way beyond survival. It's a return to vibrant communal celebration, worship.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Flourishing, not just existing. And it gets even more specific about daily life, which I find fascinating.
Like the vineyards.
Yeah. Again, you will plant vineyards on the hills of Samaria. The farmers will plant them and enjoy their fruit. This isn't just, spiritual metaphor. It's about the land being fruitful again. The simple core parts of life returning to, well, prosperity.
And there's that spiritual dimension, too, looking forward to gathering back.
Right, back to Zion. That future cry from Ephraim in verse 6. Come, let us go up to Zion, to the Lord our God.
So it pulls together the physical return to the land and that spiritual longing.
Yes, it's a really holistic vision of restoration, body and soul, land and spirit.
Okay, building on that promise of return, the text then describes how these scattered people will be brought back. And verse 7 feels almost like a global announcement.
It does. Sing with joy for Jacob. Shout for the foremost of the nations. Make your praises heard and say, O Lord, save your people, the remnant of Israel. It's a public thing.
A public act of salvation.
It is. I mean, the scattering was public, wasn't it? A kind of shame witnessed by everyone. So the gathering has to be public, too, a display of God's saving power.
And it mentions the remnant.
Yes, acknowledging that not everyone made it through. It's the survivors who are returning.
And what really struck me in verse 8 is the sheer scope, not just from the land of the north, but gathered from the ends of the earth.
It was vast.
But then here's the really compassionate part. Who is in this returning group? Among them will be the blind and the lame, expectant mothers and women in labor.
A great throng will return.
It's everyone, even the most vulnerable, the ones who normally struggle most with a journey like that.
That inclusion, I think, is such a profound insight into what this restoration is all about.
Yeah.
It's not just for the strong or the capable. It's driven by this divine compassion that actively includes and, cares for the weakest. The sheer scale, a great throng, emphasizes how comprehensive it is. Nobody left behind.
And the journey itself, described in verse 9, sounds full of emotion, but also divine care. They will come with weeping. They will pray as I bring them back.
Yeah, weeping. Maybe sorrow for the past, joy for the return. A mix.
Probably a mix, right? The pain of what was lost, but also hope and prayer on the way home.
Likely. And the divine care is so explicit. I will lead them beside streams of water on a level path where they will not stumble. God providing for them, making the way smooth, even though returning from exile must have been incredibly hard.
And the reason given. It's so personal. Because I am Israel's father, and Ephraim is my firstborn son.
It's that father's protective love, isn't it? Guiding the children home.
Yeah. So, following that father image, the text then uses another familiar one. God as a shepherd.
Right. Comforting. And again, it's proclaimed to the nations, hear the word of the Lord, O nations. He who scattered Israel will gather them and will watch over his flock like a shepherd.
That contrast is really stark, isn't it? The one who allowed the scattering is the one who will now carefully gather and protect.
It highlights God's sovereignty, really, over judgment and restoration. And this gathering involves redemption, too.
Ah, yes. For the Lord will ransom Jacob and redeem them from the hand of those stronger than they. Liberation.
Exactly. Liberation from the powers that held them captive.
And the result of all this, the shepherding, the redemption, it's described as just pure joy and incredible abundance when they get back.
Pure joy. They will come and shout for joy on the heights of Zion. They will rejoice in the bounty of the Lord.
And what does this bounty look like?
Well, it lists specifics again. The grain, the new wine, and the oil, the young of the flocks and herds. It's that picture of a land just overflowing with provision, not just enough, but real abundance, prosperity.
And that metaphor, they will be like a well-watered garden. That's key, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It speaks of vitality, sustained life, flourishing that won't just wither away.
And maybe the most profound outcome. And they will sorrow no more. That sounds like a complete emotional transformation.
It does. Not just temporary relief, but a promised permanent reversal of all that suffering and mourning.
And the joy is for everyone.
Yes. Then maidens will dance and be glad, young men and old as well, all generations included. And it's presented as something God actively does. I will turn their mourning into gladness. I will give them comfort and joy instead of sorrow.
God directly intervening in their emotional reality.
Precisely. And this abundance even extends to the priests, the religious leaders, and the people filled with God's bounty. It's total well-being, physical and spiritual.
Right. Affecting every part of society, every aspect of life. Overflowing provision and peace.
That's the picture.
But before we get to that full picture of joy, the text does something important. It pauses to acknowledge the depth of the pain that came before. Verse 15 is just heart-wrenching.
It really is. A voice is heard in Ramah, mourning and great weeping, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted because her children are no more.
Captures that unbearable grief of loss, of exile.
Ramah, near where exiles were gathered. And Rachel, the matriarch linked to the northern tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh, she becomes the symbol, embodying the collective sorrow of losing her descendants, refusing to be comforted. It just underlines how deep and real that pain was.
And what's so striking is the response. It doesn't dismiss the grief. Instead, it offers immediate, powerful hope. Verse 16, restrain your voice from weeping, for your work will be rewarded. They will return from the land of the enemy.
Right. The weeping is acknowledged, it's valid, but the promise declares it's not the final word.
It transitions from lament to certainty.
Exactly. So there is hope for your future, declares the Lord. Your children will return to their own land. It directly addresses why Rachel was weeping the absence of her children and guarantees their return. Hope for the future.
Then in verse 18, we hear from Ephraim representing the people. I have surely heard Ephraim's moaning. You discipline me like an unruly calf. Restore me and I will return. That sounds like genuine introspection and admission almost.
It does, acknowledging that hardship wasn't random, but discipline, like taming a rebellious animal. And then comes this clear, raw repentance in verse 19.
Right. After I strayed, I repented. After I came to understand, I beat my breast. I was ashamed and humiliated.
It's a very physical, public expression of deep remorse for past unfaithfulness, taking responsibility.
And God's response to that repentance in verse 20, it's incredibly tender. It reveals so much about divine mercy.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Is not Ephraim my dear son, the child in whom I delight? Though I often speak against him, I still remember him. Therefore my heart yearns for him. I have great compassion for him.
Wow. So even after the discipline, the waywardness, the father's heart is still full of love, longing for the child's return.
That really gets to the relational core of this covenant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Failure and consequences happen, but divine compassion is just waiting to embrace the repentant child.
So building on that compassion and the people's repentance, there's this very practical instruction in verse 21 about the journey back.
Yeah, set up road signs, put up guideposts, take note of the highway, return, O Virgin Israel, return to your towns. It's not passive. God's actively guiding them, making the path clear.
Like providing a map.
Essentially, yes, providing the navigation system, marking the route. It implies they need help finding their way back after being gone so long.
And then there's that question in verse 22, gently acknowledging their past but calling them home. How long will you wander, O unfaithful daughter.
It reminds them of that history of straying, physically and metaphorically, while still extending that clear invitation. Stop wandering, come back.
And right after that call, we get this really fascinating, maybe slightly mysterious line. End of verse 22. The Lord will create a new thing on earth. A woman will surround a man.
Ah, yes, that one.
What do we make of that in this context of restoration?
Well, you're right. It's puzzled interpreters for ages. It's presented as part of the new thing God is doing. Interpretations range. Maybe a return to natural order, maybe an unexpected display of strength, maybe symbolic of God protecting Israel.
So no single clear answer.
The text itself doesn't spell it out right there. It leaves it a bit enigmatic. A sign, perhaps, of a dramatic shift, a reversal that's part of this new era. It definitely adds intrigue.
It certainly does. Shows this restoration isn't just hitting rewind. Something fundamentally new is happening.
Right. And the text then makes clear this return includes Judah, too, not just Israel. Verse 23, when they're brought back, people in Judah will say, "The Lord bless you, O righteous dwelling, O sacred mountain."
Blessing Jerusalem again.
Yes, confirming the promises for both houses, re-sanctifying Jerusalem, Zion, and life getting back to normal. People will live together in Judah and all its towns, farmers, and those who move about with their flocks. Renewed, integrated life.
And for those actually returning, who must be exhausted. Verse 25.
I will refresh the weary and satisfy the faint. A direct promise addressing the physical and emotional toll. Replenishment, satisfaction, coming home.
And then Jeremiah's personal note, verse 26. At this I awoke and looked around. My sleep had been pleasant to me. It feels like this whole vision was deeply personal for him, too.
It gives us that glimpse, doesn't it, into his response. Even for the prophet who often delivered harsh news, this vision of restoration brought him profound peace, comfort.
Okay, then the text pivots again, looking forward to the days are coming, verse 27, starting with a promise of repopulating the land.
Yes, a complete renewal of life. When I will plant the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the offspring of men and of animals, the land thriving again, life growth after all the devastation.
And it explicitly links God's past judgment with future restoration in verse 28.
Right. Just as I watched over them to uproot and tear down, so I will watch over them to build and to plant. God's active power was in the destruction, and that same focused power will be in the rebuilding, total involvement.
Then comes this really significant shift, a new principle about accountability, verse 29.
The proverb.
Yeah, in those days people will no longer say, the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. That idea of inherited guilt.
That proverb captured that feeling, didn't it? That the current generation was suffering for the ancestors' sins, maybe as a cumulative national judgment. But this text declares that principle, well, it's over.
It's no longer the operative one.
Exactly. Instead, verse 30 gives this clear, almost stark statement of personal responsibility.
Instead, everyone will die for his own sin. Whoever eats sour grapes, his own teeth will be set on edge.
That's a fundamental shift. It really emphasizes individual choice, individual consequence in this new era. Your standing before God depends on your actions, not just history or ancestry. Personal accountability is key.
And this idea seems to lead right into what follows, which this is arguably the most pivotal promise in the whole chapter.
The new covenant.
Yes. Introduced again with, the time is coming when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
This is really the culmination of the whole vision, a fundamentally different kind of relationship.
How different? Compared to the earlier one, the one from Egypt. The text says that one was broken, though I was a husband to them.
Right. The Exodus covenant, the Mosaic law, was based on external commands, written laws. God was faithful like a husband, but the people repeatedly failed to keep their side. It broke down, led to exile.
So the new covenant fixes that. How?
It addresses the human problem, not by lowering the standard, but by changing the people's capacity to live up to it.
Okay, how? This is the revolutionary part, right? Verse 33.
This is the absolute game changer. This is the covenant. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts.
Not just external rules anymore, internal.
Exactly. The law isn't just on stone or scrolls, it's internalized. It becomes part of who they are, influencing thoughts, desires, will from the inside out. A transformation of their deepest being.
And the result?
A solidified, unbreakable relationship. I will be their God, and they will be my people. That same core identity from verse 1, but now grounded in this internal reality.
And this internalization changes how they know God too, verse 34.
Yes. No longer will a man teach his neighbor, saying, "Know the Lord," because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest.
Wow. So direct personal knowledge, accessible to everyone.
That's what it suggests, an intimacy, an understanding that doesn't rely solely on human teaching, but flows from that transformed heart, that internalized law.
And the foundation making all this possible, the new covenant, the internal transformation, the direct knowledge. Verse 34 and ends with it.
For I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more.
Forgiveness.
That's the bedrock. Sin was the barrier. It broke the old covenant, led to judgment. This promise of complete pardon for getting past sins, it removes the barrier entirely. It allows this new, intimate, internal relationship to happen.
Okay, to really hammer home the certainty of all these promises, return, rebuilding this new covenant. The text uses some powerful cosmic imagery. Verse 35.
It does. God as the one ordering the sun, moon, stars, the sea. Lord Almighty is his name. It anchors the promises in God's immense power over the universe.
Saying they're as reliable as the laws of nature.
Pretty much. Just as fixed, just as unchanging. And the promise tied to that stability in verse 36 is absolute.
Only if these decrees vanish will the descendants of Israel ever cease to be a nation before me.
It's hyperbole, right? A way of saying it's impossible, like the sun not rising. It shows the unbreakable certainty of Israel's continued existence as God's people.
And verse 37 adds another layer, directly addressing their past failures.
Yes. Only if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth below be searched out will I reject all the descendants of Israel because of all they have done.
So even despite all they have done, rejection is tied to something equally impossible for humans.
Exactly. Their acceptance, their continuation, it's secure, not because they earned it, but because it's grounded in God's unwavering character and covenant promise.
And finally, the vision comes back to earth, literally. A specific promise about the city, Jerusalem, presumably. Verse 38.
The days are coming when this city will be rebuilt for me. And it gives really precise boundary markers.
Yeah, from the Tower of Hanel to the corner gate. Stretch to the hill of Gareb, and then turn to go. Real places.
Those were known landmarks. It provides concrete detail about the physical scope. This future hope isn't just abstract, it involves literal rebuilding.
And even places that were considered impure, the valley where dead bodies and ashes are thrown, verse 40 says they will be holy to the Lord.
That's powerful. It speaks to a total restoration, a comprehensive sanctification. Even previously defiled areas become holy, a complete renewal.
And the final promise for the city. The city will never again be uprooted or demolished. Permanent security, peace.
It brings the whole vision to a close with that sense of finality. The cycle of judgment and destruction is over. This restoration is complete, lasting, secure.
Wow. Jeremiah 31 really does cover a massive spectrum, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From that deep pain of exile, acknowledging failure, all the way to a future of vibrant return, joy, and this fundamentally new, intimate relationship with God.
It absolutely does. We've touched on, everlasting love driving it all, the compassionate gathering of everyone, turning mourning into lasting joy, that shift to individual accountability.
The revolutionary idea of the law in the heart.
Right. Enabling that direct knowledge of God, and all of it secured with cosmic certainty.
It's a text that holds together the reality of human failure and suffering with this unshakable, divinely guaranteed vision of hope and connection.
Exactly. It moves beyond just external rules to promise an internal reality, knowing God, having his ways become part of your very being, and all founded on complete forgiveness, sins remembered no more.
Thinking about that specific concept, the law written on the heart, enabling everyone to directly know the Lord. What does that really change about faith itself? I mean, if knowledge and desire come from within like that, how does it redefine our understanding of, connection with the divine? It makes you wonder about the very source and experience of that connection, doesn't it? Definitely something powerful to ponder from this deep dive.